Please stand while the judge takes the bench and remain standing until the judge tells you to take a seat. All rise.
Please be seated. Good morning. I am Judge Patricia Vroom, and when we say I'm presiding, that simply means I'm in charge of the court. This morning we will be hearing the case of Basil Battle versus Brenda Battle. This is a child custody case. The plaintiff, Mr. Battle, and his lawyers are on this side of the courtroom. The defendant, Mrs. Battle, and her lawyers are on this side of the courtroom. As you know, this is our bailiff, and we have some administrative...
You will learn that Jason drops out of these practices due to Basile's extremely strenuous exercises. You will learn that Basile calls Jason a wimp in front of his high school football team, and when Jason drops out of these practices, that he calls him a wimp. And this is a horrible way to treat any boy his age. So ladies and gentlemen of the jury, after you've heard all the information that will be presented in the testimonies today, we're confident that you will find the best interest of Jason and Edward is to live with their mother and that she should be awarded full custody of them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Battle, will you please stand and face me? Raise your right hand. Please swear the evidence you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a seat.
What is your name?
My name is Basil Battle.
Where do you live?
In the city of Anywhere?
Do you live by yourself?
No, with my two children.
Do you live with anybody else?
Yes, myself and my two children.
Are you the plaintiff in this case?
Yes.
What is your relationship with the defendant?
She is my wife. We are currently getting divorced.
Why are you here today?
To gain custody of my two children.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am 42 years old and around $35,000 a year.
Do you live in a home?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a teacher and I am a football coach for Anytown Valley High School.
When did you and the defendant marry?
We married in August of 1992.
What was the marriage like?
It was a good marriage.
Did you and the defendant have any good years?
Yes, I think so.
Did you have any children?
Yes, we had two.
When were the boys born?
Jason was born in 1992 and Edward was born in 1998.
Alright, we have a document that has been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize this document?
Yes. Jason Battle shall both remain in custody of the husband.
Can you please read paragraph 2?
In order to provide the best possible place for the boys to grow up, Edward and Jason, along with the husband, will continue to live in the family home.
Can you please read paragraph 3? Or
With
6, sorry.
Yeah. These conditions should be included in the divorce decree.
Can you please read paragraph 7?
Let's get cross-examined.
Yes, Your Honor.
And would you identify yourself, please, for the record, counsel?
I'm Zain Saliba, and I'm the attorney for the defense.
All right, thank you, Mr. Saliba. Please step forward.
Can everyone hear me okay? Thumbs up. All right. Isn't it true that you and Brenda Battle have been married for 12 years?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you were a controlling husband during your 12 years of marriage?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Your lawyer showed you a document marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1 between you and Brenda Battle, correct?
Yes.
Who created this document?
Me and my wife, Brenda.
Isn't that your signature at the bottom? That the best thing for the boys would be for them to stay with you.
In the family home, yes.
Right, would you please read term 3?
With the permission of the husband, the wife may visit the two boys at the family home or the wife's residence.
So the boys can visit their mother with your permission and your permission alone.
Yes.
And you both made up that term?
Yes.
Would you please read term 5 for us?
The wife agrees not to use any of the husband's credit in buying items for personal use.
So you both agree that she can't use any of your credit.
Yes.
However, it doesn't say anything about you using her credit, correct?
Yes.
And you both made up that term, that she had no use of your credit?
Yes.
And would you please read term 7?
Husband and wife have voluntarily entered into this agreement. There was no unnecessary pressure on either.
Football with a bunch of young men could be harmful for Jason, mentally and physically.
There's no physical contact between them.
Right. Isn't it true that Jason has dropped out of these football practices?
Yes.
Isn't it true that this happens on a regular basis?
Yes.
Well, why would he have to drop out of these practices so often if it wasn't any physical contact?
It's training. It's gonna make you tired.
Right. Isn't it true that
The plaintiff care to call any further witnesses?
Yes, we would, Your Honor.
All right, please proceed.
I would like to call upon Jason Battle to stand.
All right, shall we have our first Jason Battle? Please step forward. Okay, Jason, if you'll stand there, please. Turn, face me, raise your right hand. Oh, okay, there we go. Do you swear the evidence you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Please take a seat.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Yes? Okay. What is your name?
Jason Battle,
And how old are you?
12 years old,
What grade are you in?
6th grade.
Do you have any siblings?
Yes.
Okay. And how old are they?
They are 5 years old.
Okay, and who are you currently living with?
My dad and my brother.
Okay, and how? Okay, and does Edward seem to enjoy these meetings?
Yes, ever since he's been attending them, he seems more happier.
And how's your relationship with your father?
It's pretty good. I mean, we go hiking and then practice football.
Okay, and do you like these activities you do with your father?
Yes, because we get to talk more.
Okay, and you mentioned that you play football. Do you just play it or you train?
I train.
Okay. And who do you train with?
My dad's football team.
And how old are these kids?
High school age.
Do you train as the same level as them?
No, he lowers it down for me.
Please step forward. All right, Jason, I'll remind you, you were already under oath. Please take a seat.
Huh? Isn't it true that your father makes you practice football?
Yes.
And isn't it true that there are other young men participating in these practices?
Yes, they're the high schoolers he teaches.
Isn't it true that these boys are much taller and older than you?
Yes.
Isn't it true that these young men are much heavier than you?
Yes.
And isn't it true that some of these young men are the size of Mr. Santos here?
Probably.
Could you please stand next to Mr. Santos simply for a comparison?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Santos, would you please stand? And Jason, please go down and stand next to him. I'd like the record should reflect that Mr. Santos and the witness are about a foot difference in size, with Mr. Santos being the taller.
So you have a very rough time participating in these practices, right?
Could you repeat? Sorry, you were kind of muffled right there.
So you have a very rough time participating in these practices, correct?
Yeah, they're really exhausting.
Isn't it true that you don't enjoy these football practices?
Yeah.
And isn't it true that sometimes you have to drop out of these practices?
Like I said, they're exhausting, so sometimes I do have to sit out for a sec.
Isn't it true that this makes your father very angry?
Yes.
Isn't it true that he calls you a wimp when you can't finish these practices?
Yes.
That means, for the benefit of the jury, that the plaintiffs do not have any further case. That is the plaintiff's case. All right, now let's hear from the defense. Would the defense care to present some evidence?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Saliba, please proceed.
Your Honor, I'd like to call Brenda Battle to the stand.
All right, thank you. Ms. Battle, please step forward.
What is your name?
My name is Brenda Battle.
Where do you live?
In the state of Anywhere,
Who is the plaintiff in this case?
Basil Battle.
And why are you here today?
To get full custody of my children,
Who are your children?
Jason and Edward Battle.
And how?
Because I had to leave.
Is there anyone else living with you in your home?
Yes.
All right. Who is living with you?
My boyfriend Bert.
All right. And have the boys ever met Bert?
Yes.
All right. And what form of personal connection or relationship do the boys have with Bert?
Well, I think they enjoy hanging out with him, and he's great with the children.
All right. And do you ever get to visit your children?
Even though he's set back because of his hearing loss, he's still a normal kid.
All right. And what do you do to cope with Edward's hearing disability?
Well, recently I've been learning sign language so I can communicate with him better.
How did you learn sign language?
My boyfriend Bert has been helping me.
Alright, so you've been learning sign language just so you can better communicate and understand your son?
Yes.
Alright, has it been difficult for you to learn sign language and understand a boy with his particular issues?
Yes, it has been, but I try my best for Edward. Yes.
Could you read line 7 of this document for us?
Husband and wife have voluntarily entered into this agreement. There is no unnecessary pressure on either party to sign this document.
Is that true?
No.
If it wasn't true, why would you sign this document?
Well, before I signed it, Basil threatened to not let me visit the boys if I didn't sign. And I was also afraid that even if I were to get custody of them, he might kidnap Jason and Edward. So I would rather sign it than not be able to see my boys.
So,
The best possible place for the boys to grow up. Edward and Jason, along with the husband, will continue to live in the family home.
So did you agree that the best thing for the boys was for them to live in the family home with Basil?
No.
Alright, would you please read term 3 for us?
With the permission of the husband, the wife may visit the two boys in the family home or at the wife's residence.
Why would you agree to the incident happen?
A few months ago.
Alright, based on your observations, why did Jason decide to shoplift?
Well, he was hanging out with the wrong people and he was under a lot of stress and Basil wasn't even there for him to see.
And did he go to court?
Yes.
Did you see Basil at court?
No.
So who came to be with Jason as his loving parent?
I did.
Alright, and who didn't come for Jason at court?
Basil.
Alright, and did Basil ask you to go to court to support Jason?
No.
Alright, regarding the boys' shared daily routine, how do they get along with each other?
They get along great and they really love each other.
Alright, and do you believe they want to stay together?
Yes.
Second, Brenda Battle. Just remind you.
So you left your children for 1.5 years, correct?
Correct.
In that time, you signed an agreement leaving your children in the care of the father.
Yes.
So you testified that you entered a separation agreement with Basil.
Yes.
Do you have the agreement on you right now?
No, I do not.
Alright. This document.
Yes.
Alright. It's the separation agreement, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
What was the date that the agreement was signed?
October 10th, 2002.
That was 6 months after you left the boys, correct?
Correct.
Let's go through the provisions of that agreement. Why don't you read paragraph 1?
Edward Battle and Jason Battle shall both remain in the custody of the husband.
Would you read paragraph 2?
In order to provide the best possible place for the boys to grow up, Edward and Jason, along with the husband, will continue to live in the family home.
Would you read paragraph 6?
I was not.
You also claim that you were under a lot of mental stress, correct?
Yes.
Does that mental stress include being a mother?
No.
Your little boy Edward has special problems, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
But you haven't been there to help, have you?
Unfortunately not.
But his father has been.
Yes.
So, don't you think Jason getting involved in shoplifting and his lowering grades would have something to do with his mother abandoning him and his brother?
No.
There's no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Will there be any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's change witnesses again. Ms. Baxter, would you turn and face me? Raise your right hand. Do you swear the evidence you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Again, we will have two different people playing the role of Arthur Baxter.
What is your name?
Arthur Baxter,
Where do you live?
in the city of Anywhere.
What do you do for a living?
I am a gym coach at Anytown Junior High.
Do you know the Battle family?
Yes, Jason is my student.
Do you know his parents?
Basil is a coworker, and I know Brenda from parent-teacher conferences.
You teach PE, correct?
Correct.
What are your qualifications?
I have a bachelor's degree in kinesiology.
And how many years of experience do you have? On what you have observed?
It is intense cardio and heavy weight training.
And what does Jason look like after these practices?
He looks tired, fatigued.
How does Basil react to this based on what you have observed?
He gets pretty angry and he yells at Jason and calls him a wimp.
Do you think this is a good way to treat a 12-year-old in your expert opinion?
Number two, would you please step forward? I'll remind you that you're already under oath. Mr. Santos, please proceed.
Hello?
Stop.
How do you know Brenda Battle?
Through the parent-teacher conferences that happen every 3 months.
Okay, and how long do these conferences last?
Usually 15 minutes.
So 3 months, correct?
Yes.
So every year you only speak to her about an hour, correct?
Correct.
So would you say you know Brenda on a friend type level?
No, I'd say I know her on an acquaintance level. Not a friend, but I do occasionally see her, so acquaintance.
Okay, and you know Basil Battle as a co-worker, correct?
Correct.
And what is Basil's occupation?
Could you rephrase the question?
What is Basil's job?
He coaches football and is a teacher. Bless you.
And wouldn't you say that
Next, we are going to proceed with closing arguments. Would the plaintiff like to make a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, please step forward, Mr. Khan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have now heard all the evidence of this case. It is time for you to decide which of these two parents will have custody of the children. Your job is to apply the law to the facts. In just a moment, the judge will explain to you the law. She explained that you must decide what the best interest of the children is. In order to do this, you must apply 6 factors. 1, the parents' wishes, which are clear and cut. Both parents want custody of the children, except for a time when Brenda didn't want custody of the children when she signed the separation agreement. 2, the child's relationship with each parent, family members, and any other important people in the children's life. Jason and Edward have a better relationship with their father, as Basil goes to special classes for Edward and has enrolled him in school with hearing disabilities. Jason enjoys spending his free time with his father on hikes and other family activities. Number 3, the mental and physical health of each parent to raise the child, which Brenda has testified to being under so much mental stress that she abandoned her boys. Basil has taken care of the boys and had no problem doing it. 4, the person whom the child has developed the strongest bond. In this case, Brenda has been gone for 1.5 years. Do you truly believe a child who hasn't had daily contact with their parent for a year would develop any sort of bond? Basil does activities with the boys and cares about them a lot and takes care of them on a daily basis. 5, the arrangement that will be least disruptive to the child. If Basil is given custody, the child will not be disrupted at all and they would continue their regular routine and daily activities compared to if they had to move to a completely different home in a new location. 6, the child's wishes if they are over 12. Well, obviously a child would not want to choose which parent they want to stay with, so I'm not going to say anything there. You may consider joint custody, but it may not be viable seeing the animosity between both parents. If it is possible at all, you must keep the boys together so they can grow up in the same household with each other. In summary, it is clear that the parent who's best guaranteed to protect the best interest of the child is Basil Battle. Now that you've heard all the evidence, we are confident that you will side with the plaintiff, Basil Battle. In closing, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Basil Battle asks you that you award him custody of the 2 children. That'll be all, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Would the defense like to make a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, please step forward, Mr. Saliba.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as you all know, this is a very important trial, a trial that will affect the future of these children. As this trial has shown, Brenda Battle is a kind and caring mother who has devoted her life to taking care of her children. You will hear from the judge that the boys should be kept together at all costs. You need to honestly ask yourself who a 5-year-old boy should be living with. A harsh father with anger management issues, or a caring mother who sacrificed everything for her children. You should also consider who a 12-year-old boy should be living with. A parent who insults and embarrasses him, or a parent who cares and supports him. The law states that the court should consider the best interest of the children in assigning custody. The judge will inform you that to determine the best interest of the child, you need to consider 6 factors. Now let's run through those factors. So, factor 1, the parent's wishes. Brenda Battle has shown through the duration of this trial that she is a caring parent, and above all, her wishes are for the best interest of her children to be met. Factor 2, the child's relationship with each parent, family members, and any other important people in the child's life. Although Jason and Edward have been living with Basil during the 1.5 years Brenda was away, Brenda Battle was their primary caregiver for Jason's 10.5 years of life, as well as Edward's 3.5 years of life prior to the separation. Since the separation, Brenda has spent much time with the boys, as Basil would allow, but he has not been generous. Additionally, as you heard in the testimony today, 6 months ago, Jason Battle was arrested for shoplifting. I'd like you all to imagine that you were a 12-year-old boy arrested and going to court. You would be extremely delicate at the time. Therefore, you would need to rely on your family and friends closest to you. However, when you went to court, your father wasn't there. The only person who came for you was your mother. That shows that Brenda Battle is a loving and caring parent that Basil couldn't be for Jason, especially when he needed him the most. In fact, Jason quoted Basil in saying, he said he hoped they'd lock me up and he didn't care what happened. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we need to ask ourselves, what a loving and caring parent would say to their child, especially when they're so vulnerable. Factor 3, the physical and mental well-being of each parent to raise the child. The testimonies have also shown that Basil Battle is an emotionally unstable man who can't control himself at times. Thinking about the best interest of the child, Basil can't give the loving and caring environment that two children need. Part of the mental well-being of a parent is judgment. Basil forces Jason to participate in football practices that a boy his age simply can't endure. We need to honestly ask ourselves, is this good judgment? Jason has told everyone here today how his father calls him a wimp when he can't finish the football practices. Think about that. Is that the person you want to have full custody of these young boys? Brenda is a caring parent who has put in the time and effort to take care of her children. Her caring boyfriend Bert is teaching her sign language so she can better understand and communicate with Edward. Brenda also cared for Jason's mental and physical well-being while he was in court. Factor 4, the person with whom the child has developed the strongest bond. Although the boys have been living with Basil for the past year and a half, Brenda has always been watching over her children, even though Basil restricted her time with them. I'll remind you all that Brenda is the parent who came for Jason at the police station and court when he was arrested. Brenda's also learning sign language, so she can once again better communicate with Edward. Factor 5, the arrangement that would be least disruptive to the child. In order to ensure the boys' lives aren't disrupted, Brenda Battle has purchased a home near the boys' school so they can still attend the same academy and generally live a better life with the same friends and family that they've always had. Factor 6, the child's wishes if the child is over 12 years. Even though Jason has testified that he wants to live with his father, his actions have shown that he really wants to be with both of his parents, which we all know can't happen. As we've discussed, the boys should stay together at all costs. Do you honestly believe a 5-year-old boy should be living with a parent with a harsh man like Basil? We need to honestly ask ourselves, what is the best interest of the children? Aren't they best protected by awarding custody to their loving and compassionate mother, Brenda Battle? We need to do just that.
Thank you, Mr. Saliba. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this concludes our trial, and in just a few moments you'll be going into deliberations. The jury foreman, Mrs. Shate Rice, will help you conduct your deliberations. I will be giving you 2 documents, the settlement agreement or the separation agreement, Plaintiff's Exhibit 1, that was discussed by several of the witnesses, and a written copy of the jury instructions I'm about to give you. have a verdict to present?
Yes, Your Honor, we do.
Would you please do that?
We, the jury, award physical custody of both children as follows. 75% physical custody to plaintiff, 25% to defendant. We, the jury, award legal custody equally 50% to each party.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, members of the jury. So let me explain what this verdict means. It means that the parties and the court, after this session, will fashion a particular schedule so that we can properly allocate 75% of the children's time in the care of their father and 25% in the care of their mother. 50-50 legal custody means that the parties have got to get together and agree on important issues like where the boys go to school, what kind of religious training, if any, that they have, what kind of medical care the boys get, if they need braces or not. All of those kinds of decisions, the parents are going to have to work together in order to reach agreement. The court has a mediation service that can assist. In another life, I was a divorce mediator years ago, and I worked on lots and lots of those negotiations, so I know a lot about that. Anyway, thank you very much, members of the jury. At this time, I'd like to ask if any members of the jury would like to make any comments or give feedback to the trial teams. If you do, raise your hand, I'll call on you, and you can step forward to the microphone. Anyone care to make any comments? How do you think the teams did? Were you impressed? Let's give them a hand, all right? I have to tell you, sitting up here as their
It's
teacher.
pretty good. It should have, I think if we had a little more time, we could look at the affidavits more and practice more and do a lot more of practicing.
Yeah, I think one thing, go ahead, Yoshiko.
I was Elijah, but I really liked how the whole case went. I loved every side of the arguments.
Yeah, were you impressed, Yoshiko?
Yeah.
Did you know that this is what they were going to do?
Kind of,
yeah, okay. Anybody else? Anyone else have any comments to make? All right, well, we hope that the sixth graders are excited about the prospect of participating in street law next year. And those of you in seventh grade, to the trial team.
All rise. The court is now adjourned.